Another year, another 45 Taiwanese internet stories. Can you believe it? I certainly can't. Mentally, I'm still stuck in 2019. Every week, I'm tasked with crafting #Taiwan. I research, write, film, and edit the segment myself. As soon as I'm done with one episode, I have to start thinking about the next one, so I don't really get a chance to reflect and look back on what I cover. Today, we're gonna do just that. Join me on this #only Taiwan Insider. At the end of last year, a New York Times editorial said, pound for pound, Taiwan is the most important place in the world. In May of this year, The Economist published a cover story calling Taiwan the most dangerous place on Earth. The article said tensions between Taiwan and China had the potential for massive conflict. But internet users took issue with the title because... For those of us who live in Taiwan, the label, the most dangerous place on Earth, seems a little unfair. You're talking about a place with Hello Kitty themed trains. You're talking about a place where a man lost his heirloom watch and found it undisturbed on the side of the street 15 hours later. You're talking about a place where police cars carry teddy bears to comfort children. You're talking about a place where rainbows fall on our tallest landmark. In response to the Economist article, Alex Tichy says, sure, the threat of a conflict here is very serious, but people in Taiwan are living a very peaceful existence with low crime, great healthcare, functioning government, and no COVID. It's not the most dangerous place on Earth. Jenny Lee tweets, well, they're not wrong. My friends who visit Taiwan from abroad often gain a couple of pounds before leaving. Quite dangerous, I must say, if you are on a diet. It's worth fighting over good food. The article prompted a campaign where people shared photos depicting nature, friendship, and life in Taiwan to poke fun at the title. One of my favorites is from Gwen Wong Reeves. She tweeted this picture with the caption, "You can buy cat-shaped toast in the most dangerous place in the world, Taiwan." I need to find out where I can get that toast. Even Andrew Ryan got in on the fun by posting this dangerous move by a local toddler. I mean, I'd probably let her pinch my nose too. Just look at that face. So long as we're talking about names for Taiwan, let's talk about another one. This one from CNN anchor Fareed Zakaria. In September, Zakaria delivered a 5-minute piece praising Taiwan for its democracy, calling the country a bright spot. According to CNN's Fareed Zakaria, Taiwan shines because of its democracy. Last Saturday, Zakaria delivered a 5-minute piece about how the world is going through a democratic recession. He says that there's a worrying trend in recent years where countries are abandoning democracy and embracing authoritarianism. Zakaria points out that COVID has contributed to this decline because some world leaders are using coronavirus restrictions as a cover to brutally take down their opponents. He says this is happening in places like Hungary, Venezuela, and Uganda. However, amid all of this chaos, Zakaria says that there's one place that's becoming increasingly democratic. Do you want to take a crack at what place he's talking about? If your answer wasn't Taiwan, then... dude, what are you doing watching this show? Taiwan ranks 11th in the Economist Intelligence Unit's 2020 Democracy Index, which makes it the highest ranked place in Asia. Taiwan jumped 20 spots since 2019, which is more than any other government in the entire world. Zakaria praised Taiwan for its high voter turnouts, its digital democracy initiatives which encourage public participation in policy creation, and its internet freedom. Zakaria points out that Taiwan's internet is freer than that of Germany and the United States. Many people, whether Taiwanese or simply having lived in Taiwan long term, thank Zakaria for bringing attention to Taiwan's democratic achievements. One person whose presence doesn't surprise me is Taiwanese lawmaker Wang Dingyu, who says, "Thank you, Fareed, for highlighting Taiwan's democratic achievements." I mean, that guy is always on Twitter. I just see him everywhere. Dave Troba tweets, "I feel privileged to live here as a guest and to see how happy the people are about their hard-won rights and identity. To be sure, it is not perfect. No place is. But I have lived in Sweden and Switzerland beyond my USA home, and Taiwan fits in that company." Then there's Alexander Perini who tweets, "Thank you for highlighting Taiwan's successful democracy. As freedom is being challenged around the world, the country stands out as a beacon of hope." I also really like this tweet from John Ho Ho Ha Ha Chen, who says, Thanks so much for your report. So proud of my country Taiwan and her people. Among all of the praise for Taiwan though, there's one tweet that stands out which makes me kind of nervous. It's from J. Osterman number 5522 who tweets, "If Taiwan falls, it would mark the end of democracy in the world." I mean, do I agree? I honestly don't think so, because that just puts too much pressure on Taiwan to succeed. Now that we got the hard stuff out of the way, let's move on to the lighter side. I've got stories that range from heartwarming to just plain mind-boggling. Let's start out with something a little more out of the ordinary. What would you do for a free meal? Would you help your friend move, or maybe enter an eating contest? How about changing your name permanently? Because that's what some people in Taiwan did to get free sushi. It's a story the media is dubbing Salmon Chaos. Don't worry, it's not what it sounds like. Hordes of salmon are not falling from the sky and hurting people by way of blunt force trauma. In Chinese, salmon is gui yu. Remember that because you're gonna need it for later. On March 15th, a Japanese sushi restaurant chain announced a special promotion on Facebook. They said that anyone who had Chinese characters that sounded like gui yu in their name could get up to 50% off on a meal at the restaurant between March 17th and 18th. Your name didn't explicitly have to be salmon. As long as it sounded like it, then you'd get a discount. But the restaurant went a step further and said that if you had salmon or gui yu in your name, then you could eat at the restaurant for free. Now, the marketing team must have been having fun, right? After all, no one is really named Salmon. I mean, even if there are, it's probably just one or two eccentric individuals. I mean, surely nobody would legally change their name to Salmon in order to score free food, right? I think you know where this story is going. According to Apple Daily, over the course of 4 days, 331 people legally changed their name to something salmon related just to cash in on the free meal. Someone gave themselves a 36-character name, calling themselves Chen loves Taiwan abalone, tuna, salmon, snow crab, sea urchin, scallop, lobster, and beef. Mayful, Palais des Chines, Regent, Hilton, Caesar Park, Hotel Royale, in hopes of getting more free stuff. I mean, that's pretty forward thinking. This trend got so out of hand that the government had to get involved. The Interior Ministry made a Facebook post which said, "Don't go somewhere you can't salmon from." And that makes sense when you realize the word for salmon, gui, sounds like the word for return. The Interior Ministry reminded people that under Taiwanese law, you can only change your name 3 times. So if people aren't careful, they could potentially be stuck with the word salmon in their name. It actually happened to a couple of people. I mean, it was bound to happen. I bet you there's someone out there who got the date of the promotion wrong and ended up changing their name to Salmon for no good reason. But that wouldn't be so bad considering other sushi establishments are beginning to offer discounts on sushi for people named Salmon. In fact, businesses are offering lobsters, abalone, pudding, and even cremation urns for people with certain names. Cremation urns. This might seem like all fun and games, but Salmon Chaos has had tangible consequences. For one, the original restaurant said that its kitchen waste increased 6-fold over the course of the promotion. It's almost like people are okay wasting food as long as they're not paying for it. Now, if any lesson comes out of all of this chaos, let it be this one. Don't change your name to get free stuff. Taiwan may be small, but it has a big impact. For one, it's a huge semiconductor producer, which is pretty important for our technologically advanced society. But one hashtag Taiwan story shined a light on how Taiwan impacted global trade when a Taiwanese-operated cargo ship jammed up one of the world's most important trade channels. A skyscraper-sized ship called the Ever Given veered sideways while traversing the Suez Canal. It got stuck and clogged a major trade artery for 6 days. It was estimated that the world lost $9.6 billion in trade volume for every day the ship was stuck. Now, some of you might be wondering what a ship stuck in Egypt has to do with Taiwan, and I'll tell you. It's Japanese-owned, Taiwanese-operated, registered in Panama, and piloted by an Indian crew. You probably already know that the ship is no longer stuck. My source, istheshipstillstuck.com, says the Ever Given was stuck for 6 days, 3 hours, and 38 minutes, costing about $59 billion in trade. NPR reporter Camila Dominowski tweeted, asking for stupid ideas to solve the problem. For example, she proposed getting many helicopters to lift one end of the boat. Others jumped in with impractical ideas, like shoving a giant cotton swab up the canal, using industrial-grade lubricant, or putting a ramp over the Ever Given to let other ships jump over it. Then pop culture came to the rescue with people taking ideas from Disney, Godzilla, and cartoons to solve the problem. Other internet users, however, took comfort in the fact that they weren't the ones that clogged the canal. The Higgs boat Swain tweeted, Good news for today. Whatever happens, at least you're not the guy who got his boat stuck in the Suez Canal and broke maritime shipping. And another meme says, you may make mistakes, but at least they're usually not, we can see your mistake from space bad. But the strangest part about this whole ordeal is how much people related to a ship stuck in a canal. A bunch of images of builders trying to dislodge the Ever Given surfaced, and people began using those images as metaphors to comment on their own work ethic and well-being. For example, here the giant ship is labeled, the incessant crushing weight of existence. Next to it is a tiny tractor labeled, drinking exactly 2 beers. You might think that people were relieved when the ship started moving again, but no, actually people were sad to see it go. The last 3 weeks have been really eventful, but for those who need a refresher, have a look at this meme. It says, Taiwan in 1971. We left the UN and are very sad. However, Taiwan in 2021 is more like we have TSMC and yummy pineapples. Love salmon and block the Suez Canal. What a difference 30 years makes. Can you imagine where Taiwan will be in the next 30 years? We're gonna be blocking off space canals, tell you what. All the way up in outer space, disrupting intergalactic trade. I like Taiwan. You might even say I'm quite fond of it. But that's to be expected because I'm Taiwanese. But do you know what's unexpected? A French YouTuber who loves Taiwan so much that he went out of his way to help spread Taiwanese culture. This is Ku. He's a French YouTuber living in Taiwan. This is a peanut ice cream roll. It's a traditional Taiwanese dessert that consists of ice cream, cilantro, peanut brittle, rolled up in a flour wrap. Today's topic is at the cross-section of this French YouTuber and peanut ice cream rolls. Last Saturday, Ku uploaded a video to YouTube which is now receiving rave reviews. Last month, Ku ate 10,000 calories worth of taro products to prove how much he loves, well, taro. And then he made a donation to Taiwan's International Cooperation Development Fund, which is developing taro farms in Palau. Palau is a country in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. It's an archipelago consisting of over 500 islands, and it's one of Taiwan's diplomatic allies. As a show of gratitude, the ICDF invited Ku to visit Palau to check out the taro farms he helped support. Ku agreed to go, but he said he wanted to bring a piece of Taiwanese culture with him to share with the Palauans. Ku said he found out that Palau is hot and the people there like to eat ice cream, so he thought Taiwan's ice cream peanut rolls would be the best item to share with the Palauan people. Ku spent some time developing a recipe for taro ice cream to use in his rolls. Back in the day, and I mean like 50, 60 years ago, Taiwanese ice cream vendors rode around on bicycles. They'd honk their horns to let people know that they were nearby, and that's why, in Taiwan, ice cream is sometimes called bapu bapu because that's the sound an ice cream bike makes. Ku purchased a 60-year-old traditional ice cream bike, packed it up, and flew it with him to Palau. When he got there, Ku visited taro farms and using the local taro, he made his ice cream. Ku then unpacked his ice cream bike and hit the streets giving away peanut ice cream rolls in exchange for subscriptions to his YouTube channel. Ku rode around Palau on an unwieldy antique bike with a big metal box filled with homemade ice cream in tow. He went to a Palauan Independence Day event and that's where his business took off. While there, Ku ran into the French ambassador to Palau and asked her to try some Taiwanese ice cream. At the end of the video, Ku had a chance to have one last VIP try his ice cream, and that was Palau's vice president, and she seemed to really sincerely love the ice cream. So let's take a second to unpack here. A French YouTuber went to another country to spread Taiwanese culture. It's not hard to understand why this video is so popular in Taiwan. Ku's commitment to authenticity, from developing his own ice cream recipe to bringing with him an actual vintage ice cream bike, is just plain heartwarming. Forces of nature aren't things you want to mess with, especially when it comes to, say, a typhoon. But in April, Taiwanese people hurled insults at a typhoon because it wasn't going to make landfall in Taiwan. Now, why on earth did Taiwanese people want a typhoon to make landfall? Well, check this out. Right now, people in Taiwan would love a typhoon. That's because Taiwan is going through its worst drought in 56 years, and the country actually depends on typhoons to bring rainwater. And last year, not a single typhoon made landfall. The situation has gotten so bad that parts of central Taiwan have cut water supplies 2 days out of the week. Last week, Typhoon Surigay formed off the eastern coast of the Philippines, bringing with it the hope of rain. However, weather experts quickly predicted that the typhoon would veer back out east into the Pacific, again missing Taiwan. Now, people don't usually try to reason with forces of nature, but people have started to lash out at Surigay. Specifically, they turned to this plurk thread to vent. Plurk is this Taiwanese Reddit Twitter hybrid. I don't know why its logo is a headless pig though. Anyway, the start of the thread is a news story which says surrogate will not directly affect Taiwan. It says that it might even bring with it dry winds. It was at that point that people just unleashed a storm on surrogate. Here are a few entries. Worthless. You are a failure. You are garbage. Have a backbone. Why do you even exist? You may as well have not formed. Go back to where you came from. We don't need you. Where do you get off calling yourself a typhoon? It's bad enough that you don't bring rain, but dry winds also? You are a hen that doesn't lay eggs but instead defecates. And my personal favorite, how dare you call yourself a typhoon when you've never been to Taiwan? People are straight up dogpiling on surrogate. There are about 2,000 comments on the thread, each one just taking pot shots at the typhoon. The thing is, surrogate has intensified into a super typhoon, so it might be better that it didn't pass over Taiwan. I have a sneaking suspicion that surrogate heard what people were saying and got angry. Finally, for our last highlight, I'm going to share with you the most popular hashtag Taiwan segment this year. Remember 2 weeks ago when I said this? The 2020 Olympic Games in Tokyo, Japan will kick off. Be on the lookout for this flag and the name Chinese Taipei. For complex geopolitical reasons that I'm not getting into, Taiwan cannot compete as Taiwan. Well, a lot of news outlets are now picking up on that and explaining why Taiwan can't compete as Taiwan. Here's the thing though, Japanese media broadcaster NHK went out of its way to remind people during the Tokyo 2020 Olympic opening ceremony that Chinese Taipei is actually Taiwan. In fact, they flat out said it. The announcer straight up said Taiwan des when the team entered the stadium. She basically saw the Chinese Taipei Olympic flag and just went, oh, that's Taiwan. That's Taiwan. It's nice that Taiwan is being recognized as Taiwan because we're already so used to Chinese Taipei. An online user even took to the Taiwanese forum PTT asking, did NHK just make a boo-boo? Did they really just say Taiwan? Was that an accident? You see, even Taiwanese people aren't used to being called Taiwan at the Olympics. Taiwan des is a big deal. Here's why. Harvard fellow and Taiwan scholar Lev Nachman tweeted, there is something about the nature of contested states where simply hearing their contested name in an international context brings a sense of resistance to their marginalization. And that is Smarty Pants speak for, because Taiwan can't be Taiwan at the Olympics, hearing Taiwan said and acknowledged is all the more meaningful. Many memes about this situation show a kind-hearted Japan telling Chinese Taipei it's okay to be referred to as Taiwan. So impactful is the term Taiwan des that it has become the de facto hashtag for tweeting about Taiwan at the Olympics. You can see it plastered across posts celebrating victories and Taiwanese Olympians. On YouTube, Taiwan des has close to 120,000 views and around 250 comments, mostly from Japan. It's very nice to know that our Japanese viewers are so supportive of us. I just wish I knew Japanese because that's what most comments coming in are written in. Anyway guys, that's it for our Internet Stories of the Year show. What was your favorite episode of hashtag Taiwan? Do let me know in the comments below. In the future, don't hesitate to send me any memes or videos that you think are hashtag worthy. Natalie and I will be back next week to share with you our list of Taiwan's People of the Year. Until next week, take care and see you around.